Welcome to Coffee Commerce. My name is Sean Ramit. I'm the grandson of a coffee farmer from Guyana, South America. On Coffee Commerce, we talk about not just the business of coffee, but how coffee has influenced ideas, culture, as well as commerce. We've been talking about the European coffee houses and how coffee was introduced to Europe. We started out talking about the siege of Vienna by the Turks and how coffee was introduced there. We went on to talk about France and as well as Venice. We must come back to Vienna for a couple of reasons. Let's come back to the siege of Vienna by the Turks in 1683. At this time, the Polish had come to the rescue of Vienna, and the Turks fled, leaving behind a lot of supplies, including what some believe was as many as 500 bags of coffee, green beans. There's a few stories here. One story has it that the beans were thought to be camel feed, and they were thrown into the fire. When they were thrown into the fire, the aroma of the coffee started to smell. And a spy named Kolszycki recognized that these beans were coffee and had them pulled out of the fire, and then he received them as a payment for the work that he had done. Kolszycki was a spy for Vienna that also knew the Arab language. He disguised himself as a Turk and was able to get past the Turkish lines in order to get help from the Polish. The second story has it that the army of Vienna saw the beans, were going to throw them away. Word of that reached Kolszycki that recognized that the green beans must have been coffee, went to the army and requested as payment for his service as a spy that he receive the beans. And they were happy to get rid of them because there was no value to them. From there, Kolszycki took the beans, roasted them, and then started to serve Turkish coffee and doing it door to door. Eventually, he opened up a coffee tent as such in the 4th district where he would serve coffee. Some also say that the first coffee house in Vienna belongs to not Kolszycki, but Johannes Diodato, who in 1685 opened up what some believe is to be the first coffee house in Vienna. As coffee houses start to spring up in Vienna, along came with it the culture of Vienna and a new way of how coffee would be served. With coffee in a Vienna coffee house came water. They also had it at card tables and had billiards. In fact, the billiards were often on the 2nd floor and became a very popular place to come and watch. Billiards became so popular on the 2nd floor that the weight of people watching the games started to cause the floor to fall through. It became such a problem that in the 1700s that it was stated that billiards would no longer be allowed to be played on the 2nd floor. They must be on the 1st floor. Pretty soon after coffee was introduced in Vienna, they also introduced newspapers, and it became a place for the locals to come and to read international news. There they would discuss ideas and learn about what was going on around the world. When the Viennese started to drink coffee, the traditional Turkish coffee was something that they did not exactly enjoy, primarily for 2 reasons. One, they found it a little bitter, and so they added milk. And the second thing is they didn't like the grinds that they were at the bottom of their cup. So they filtered their coffee. Filter coffee and adding milk we enjoy today because of the Viennese coffee house and the coffee culture there. So important is the Vienna coffee house culture that in 2011 it was named under the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage. The other aspects of the Vienna coffee house, including pastries. Some of these pastry ideas we experience also in France. And it is from the Vienna coffee house culture and the pastries that we get the croissants, which we talked about before. The croissant coming from the Vienna siege, where the bakers took the crescent moon that was from the flag of the Turks, and they made it into a pastry. This becomes a common practice in Vienna and in other parts of Europe, including France. How coffee entered Europe is very interesting. How coffee becomes part of the European culture is just as interesting. And that is another topic for another cup of coffee. Thank you.